It had only been a few days since encountering the Grassman, so we were still in Ohio. While deciding on where we would travel next, we had decided to head up to Cleveland, which was only about an hour and a half away. We may not have had any investigations in mind yet, but it turns out that something found us anyway. We had been driving outside the city through the local suburbs, just listening to music for a little bit, when Mia pulled over onto the side of the road. What's wrong?
I just heard voices.
Yeah, they're singers. It's this new thing called music. Might have heard of it?
Shut up. No. In my head.
Oh. Okay. You're hearing voices. Definitely not weird.
I sensed it. The same way I sense cryptids.
I thought you only sensed, feelings and pictures.
Yeah, usually.
Can you still hear them?
No.
Alright. Well, what did they say?
I don't know. It was short. I couldn't make out anything specifically.
Okay. Voices. So, what the heck could that mean?
Remember your analogy of my powers being like a radio receiver?
Yeah?
Well, I think I picked up a stray signal.
So you think there's another psychic around?
No, I think there's more than one. Unless someone was talking to themselves, I'm pretty sure I heard part of a conversation.
Are you saying we've got another mystery on our hands?
I sure am.
We tried driving back and forth around the same area, hoping to pick up any more psychic transmissions, but we had no luck. So we returned to Cleveland and finally booked ourselves a room. We got settled in and then went to work. I began researching, Mia tried to focus her mind, and Fritz, well, she napped. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, so I just tried finding anything weird in the area. Okay, it's a stretch, but I might have a lead.
Oh yeah?
There's a local legend about a group of people called the Melonheads.
Melonheads? Sounds like it should be a name for, Smashing Pumpkins fans or something.
Yeah, I may not have found much on the story, but I found enough that I can confidently say that is not what their name means.
Yeah, I had a feeling. So, who are they?
Alright, well, basically, they are people with big heads.
But I'm guessing there's more to the story than that?
Yeah. I haven't been able to nail down an exact time frame, but apparently the whole story starts with a guy named Dr. Crow. Maybe spelled like the animal, maybe not.
Dr. Crow? Definitely sounds like a real name.
Just telling you what I found. Anyway, Crow worked at a place called Sumner Cottage. This was in either Chardon, Ohio, or the neighboring Kirtland, both of which we drove through today.
Okay, that's something.
Now, Dr. Crow may or may not have worked for the government. Like most of the story, it's unclear. But either way, he studied hydrocephalus.
Water on the brain?
Yeah. I didn't look too much into hydrocephalus itself, but it seems that it usually manifests as pressure on the brain, and it can be treated with surgery. But in some cases, I think usually when it goes untreated, it can also cause swelling, giving a person an abnormally large head. Anyway, as the legend goes, Crow studied hydrocephalus and did experiments on children who suffered from it. Some say he injected water into their heads to make them even bigger. Some say he subjected them to radiation. Basically, whatever he did, the dude was sadistic and probably straight up evil.
Jesus!
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, a lot of these kids didn't survive the experiments. And supposedly, the ones that did became mutated, feral. And one day, they finally had enough. They killed Dr. Crow, and they ate him.
What?
They really ate Crow.
Just tell me the rest of the story.
Okay. So, after they killed Dr. Crow, they proceeded to trash his lab. And then, whether they intentionally torched the place, or just broke the wrong equipment, or mixed up some bad chemicals, whatever happened, the lab burned to the ground, and the survivors, the Melonheads, escaped out into the woods. Now, there are also some Melonhead legends from Michigan and Connecticut, but there's really not much more there to go on. So, What do you think?
Well, given the location, it's certainly promising, but nothing about psychic powers?
No. Trust me, I've looked. I haven't found any other creatures, or even just weird stories from nearby. You really think this could just be a coincidence?
No, I don't.
We decided if we were really going to find the Melonheads, that we needed more than just a vague urban legend to go on. So we spent the next few days just walking around the city, asking people what they knew or if they'd ever even heard of the Melonheads. It was a mixed success.
Melonheads? Ha! Yeah, my mom used to tell me all about them. She said they ate kids. She told me if I didn't behave, the Melonheads would come get me. It wasn't until, middle school that I realized it was a load of crap.
Hell yeah, I know all about the Melonheads. You know where they came from, right?
The Dr. Crow story?
Yeah, he did a bunch of experiments on little kids.
And then they killed him and burned down the lab. Yeah, we've heard.
No, you've got it all wrong. His experiments failed, turned the kids into Melonheads. So he decided to abandon them in a car on the side of the road. They ran off into the woods, and then Crow went and hung himself in a barn.
Ugh, yeah, I've heard about them. Bunch of backwood folks, like real hillbilly types, you know? Kept to themselves for decades. Their heads got that way from all the inbreeding.
You know, my granddad actually saw them once.
Really?
Oh yeah, he followed them home. Turns out they were just a bunch of kids. Weird looking kids. But there was this guy there too. A normal guy, you know. This guy tells my granddad that he'd been a scientist during World War II. He got exposed to so much radiation that all his kids came out deformed. And the government paid him a hefty little retirement bonus to keep quiet about the whole thing.
If they were paying him to keep quiet, why'd you tell your grandfather?
The Melonheads, they eat people, you know. They started doing it just to survive because they lived alone out in the woods, but then they got a taste for it. Started to like it. Now they do it just for fun. They hunt people.
What? No, that's not why they eat people.
Oh yeah? Why then?
It's because of how ugly and deformed they are. They're so ashamed of how they look that they'll kill anyone who sees them. And then they eat the bodies to get rid of the evidence.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
I don't know if this is getting us anywhere.
It's kind of weird, though.
What do you mean? We deal with weird on a daily basis.
Yeah, but all these stories? Usually we're lucky to find one or two witnesses. I mean, granted, none of these are really eyewitness accounts, but still. We found so many people that are willing to talk about them.
Well, it's not like they're cryptids. They're human. Which I guess makes it more like gossip? And everyone loves gossip.
We decided to continue asking around and questioning people for a little longer before calling it quits. And finally, sure enough, we hit the jackpot.
Heard of them? I know where they live.
Really?
Yeah, there's this old house. It looks abandoned. Middle of the woods. Can't even see it from the road.
Then how do you know about it?
I did some snooping as a teenager. Everyone hears the rumors growing up around here, and I got curious.
What are they like?
Well, okay, I've never actually seen them.
Then what makes you think they live there?
The house may look abandoned, but it's not. At least, it wasn't. This was 7, maybe 8 years ago now. Anyway, at the time I saw the lights on at night, every night, and I could see shadows through the curtains, but no one ever came out. Sometimes a car would show up and someone would go in, but they never stayed for very long. It was just someone visiting.
Okay, and what makes you think it's not just some old shut-in?
I just know. I never got too close to the house, but I always had this weird feeling, like I was being watched. The whole place is just weird. You can tell.
After some persuading and a promise that the information would not lead back to them, our informant shared the address with us. And without further ado, we headed over there. Sure enough, it was close by to the area in which Mia had heard the voices. The area was surrounded by trees, and the house itself had seen better days. Some of the windows were boarded up, shingles were missing, there was no number on the house, no mailbox. We parked and walked up to the door. Okay, I know we've seen, actual monsters and stuff, but this is a little too haunted house for me. I'm having Goatman flashbacks.
Don't worry, I'll protect you.
Maybe no one's home. Or they moved. He did say it's been 8 years.
Or maybe the bell doesn't work.
Alright, this has been fun, but I think I'm ready to go.
Wait, I'm gonna try one more thing.
What?
The same thing that brought us here. My powers.
At this point, Mia closed her eyes and sent out her emotions, the same way she had done with Sasquatch. Safe, non-threatening vibes, mixed in with the memory of hearing voices a few days earlier, and an intellectual curiosity to figure out what was going on. And after a minute, standing in silence, the door actually opened. We were greeted by, well, for lack of a better word, a man. The man in front of us, who could have been anywhere between maybe 30 and 50 years old, sat in a very antique-looking wheelchair. He had pale skin, almost devoid of color, huge dark eyes, and sure enough, an extremely large head. Someone had attached a headrest to the back of the wheelchair, and I got the feeling that this person probably didn't have the strength to hold their head up. Also, he was far enough away from the door that I don't think he opened it. I'm pretty sure it opened on its own, which definitely didn't help the haunted house vibes I was getting. Now, at this point, I should explain that the rest of the recording gets a little weird. This man, he never spoke. Not to me, not out loud, but he talked with Mia. When everything was said and done, and we went back to our motel room, we immediately played back the recording. Mia transcribed it, writing down everything he had said as best as she could remember. At that point, I decided that the best way to make this all coherent to everyone listening would be to dub in his side of the conversation. So I recorded everything Mia had written down and spliced that audio into the original recording. Huge shout out to Eldritch Heat from Monsters Den for helping with that, by the way. We tried our best to recreate the voice how Mia described it. So, keeping in mind that I couldn't actually hear anything he said, here's what happened.
Okay.
Okay, what?
He told us to come in.
What? How? You mean psychically?
Yeah.
Crap. How did you find this place?
Well, we were driving through the area and I heard voices. I'm assuming yours? We started asking around and it led us here.
Are you guys...
Yes, just be quiet.
Right. It would seem you share our power. Different, weaker, but similar.
Thanks? Normally I can sense strange animals, their feelings. I think it's how I, overheard you in the first place.
What is your name?
Mia. And this is Lucas.
Hi? I am Algernon. Tell me, why do you still speak?
Do you mean as opposed to, telepathy?
Yes, your power.
Oh, well, this is actually the first time I've ever communicated like this. I didn't even know it was possible.
Many things are possible with practice. Ah!
I see. So, are you the only one here?
No,
and sisters are upstairs.
And can they all... do they...
Yes, we do.
Oh. Sorry, I just wasn't expecting that.
What were you expecting?
Oh, honestly, I don't know exactly. There are so many different stories about you all.
Yes. As you can see, we are different, unnatural, and people fear what is not natural.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about that. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but could I ask what happened? What made you all like this?
We were created like this.
Created?
Born from a womb, like normal humans, but shaped with intent, a purpose.
A purpose?
Yes. Our mothers were human. Our fathers were not.
They weren't?
Our fathers were scientists, researchers. They could not communicate with humans, and so they created us, studied us, tested us. When they finally learned what they wanted, they left. We were still only children at that point, but a human man cared for us.
Dr. Crow?
Yes, Crow was his name. A good man. He cared for us, gave us names, taught us as best he could. Despite the rumors, we did not kill him or eat him. He was simply old. We may be grown, but we still cannot leave the house. We all look like this. But there are a few friends of Crow. They bring us food and other supplies, help care for us.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is nothing new. We are used to it. And what about you? It appears you received your powers naturally.
Yeah, my grandfather had them. I assume he passed down some kind of psychic gene, but your abilities are so much more powerful.
As I said, it was our purpose. With that having been said, is your curiosity satisfied?
Yes, thank you. Sorry for just showing up here, but we really didn't know what to expect. We're just trying to learn everything we can about all the unexplainable things in the world.
A noble goal. Take care, Mia Miller.
Thanks. You too.
As soon as we got back in the car, Mia filled me in and started recapping what they had talked about. Seriously? That is insane.
Yeah.
Do you believe him?
I really don't know. Their powers were unreal. Not just stronger, but more refined, too. I've barely been using mine for a year at this point. But from the sound of it, they've been using their powers their whole lives.
Do you think it's because of their heritage? Could they really only be half human?
Before we started all this, I would have said a human hybrid was impossible. But with everything we've seen, the Jersey Devil, the Goat Man, there's not much I think is impossible anymore. I mean, they certainly don't look fully human.
If they are only half human? Ugh.
What?
What's the other half?
Hey, can I try something?
Sure?
Here, open to a random page, pick a random word. Not something like and or the, a real word. Don't tell me what it is, just concentrate on it. Please?
Okay. Got it. And now?
Quiet. Damn.
Were you trying to read my mind?
Yeah. After talking to Algernon, I feel, I don't know, different. Not stronger, but like, I think I understand my powers a little better. How they could possibly be used in different ways. So I thought it might be time to try some mind reading.
Oh, cool. But no luck, I assume?
No.
Well, hey, I'm always here to help you practice. And you can still train with Fritz.
Right. Thanks. Field notes, I guess. Field notes doesn't quite feel appropriate, but whatever. Melonheads. I really wish we had something else to call them. Melonhead almost feels like a slur. They're definitely weird, like Enigma weird, but they're also not cryptids. They're just human. Well, I don't know if just human is accurate either, but I mean, they are people with thoughts and feelings and lives, and they're secretive for obvious reasons. They're also incredibly gifted with their powers. Not only do they communicate entirely through telepathy, but their front door also opened and closed on its own, which, if they did that with their mind, their powers, would also mean that telekinesis exists. I wonder, with enough training, could I do something like that? I guess I'll just have to keep practicing. As for their origin, I'm at a complete loss. Algernon referred to the others as his brothers and sisters, but also mentioned mothers and fathers. Definitely both plural. So they're probably not all literally related. Now, trying to make sense of what he said, they were some kind of breeding experiment, and it left them all with powerful psychic abilities. Now, were these powers the goal of the experiment, or just a side effect? And then there's the claim that their fathers weren't even human. What else could they have been? Honestly, this whole case feels so entirely above our pay grade that for once, I feel okay not having all the answers. Now, as usual, I drew a sketch, but I'm asking Lucas not to share this one. Like I said, they're people, just like us. Sharing a picture would just feel a little too intrusive. End field notes.
The Cryptid Cases has been a production of Little Giant Monsters.
You can follow us by searching Little Giant Monsters on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to keep up to date with everything we're working on. We even post a sketch of the latest Cryptid every Monday after a new episode.
You can also visit our website, littlegiantmonsters.com, to see all of our content in one place.
While you're there, want our designs on stickers, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and more? We now have merch. Just look for the merchandise link on our website.
If you really like what we're doing and want to see us do more, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Rewards include behind-the-scenes content, bonus material, and more. Search Little Giant Monsters on Patreon or find a link on our website.
You can also help us by leaving a rating and review on iTunes. Not only does each review warm our cold, cynical hearts, but it helps us move up the charts and bring the show to a wider audience.
Your continued support means so much to us. Thanks for listening and see you again soon.